Hello, everybody, and welcome to Conservatish, episode 244. My name is Peter Edgar Feliciano. Make sure you subscribe, share, rate, review. I'm not kidding. That helps the algorithm a lot. So go down and comment how handsome I am, or racist, or both. And you can find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano, or on Twitter at Rule62Peter. And support my podcast and music at patreon.com/conservatish. Or, by the way, just as a side note, everybody, I have my first ever live show, my first live show, music show in 3 years. Pre-pandemic was the last time I ever did a full live show of original music. And that's coming in Austin, January 14th at Swan Dive. So make sure you show up. And if you want to help support me paying all those musicians who I'm going to grab, you can find Venmo me at at Peter-Feliciano. Love you, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful, lovely Kelly Johnson.
Yeah. Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Hi. What is the E? Is that Scandinavian?
It is. It's actually my married name. I didn't change it because I can't be bothered doing all the paperwork. So I just kept it. And plus my maiden name is Futch. So that was fun. Exactly. So
I would have totally kept that. Kelly Futch?
Kelly Futch you, Kelly Fudge Sickle. Like, it was a lot. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep the Johnson.
So you really understand bullying and all its.
I think a healthy dose of bullying is important for everybody in life.
Absolutely. Yes. So where can people find you, my dear?
I am on Instagram at Kelly Johnson Art, KELLIEJOHNSEN Art. I have an Twitter, but I don't really use it. It was just so I could vent. It's incognito. You don't know it's me. And then you can find me on YouTube at Kelly Johnson Art.
Awesome. Now, you were incorrectly labeled a Victoria's Secret model recently. Oh. You were but you have been a model. You are a model. And I kind of wanted to first get into, okay. I don't know how we came across each other. I think you stalked me first.
I did. I love your tweets. You're amazing. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
But you came across me, and then I saw you did a video talking about Andrew Tate, which has gotten a lot of play recently.
I am crazy.
In fact, Andrew Tate retweeted it, which is crazy. Or I guess he didn't retweet yours. He retweeted somebody else reposting it.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. So that's where the telephone game happened.
Yeah, that was great. That was big. That was good for me. That's like growing significantly now, thanks to him.
Right.
So thanks, Andrew.
What was the first time? So we'll get into your background. I am interested in that for sure. But I also wanted to know because I come across a lot of people, especially in my game of music, where they're like, I love your stuff. There's different tiers to it, right?
Right.
So some people are like, I love your stuff, but I can't share it, or I can't comment on it, or I can comment, but I certainly can't like you or shout you out or come on the show or certain things like that. And there's definitely people in the game who I love and I support, and we support each other. At the same time, I understand wanting to keep that barrier so that maybe you're more accessible, maybe, right? I understand that. But I also think it's more of a level of, I don't want to get in trubs.
Right.
And where along the line for you, because it seems like more of a recent thing. I mean, I'm sure you were probably a rebellious spirit, just like a lot of us artists are. But where along the line for you were you like, fuck this, I'm speaking out? What happened for you?
Well, I would say it started around March 2020 with COVID. I was in LA. I was drinking the Kool-Aid. I was a total brainwashed liberal. Never had an independent thought. I admit it. I was one of those. And COVID happened, and BLM happened, and I started to notice the constant bashing of Trump on the media, which I had never seen before on television. And I started putting things together. It was all during an election year. And I was like, this is just weird. You know, I kind of stepped back and looked at it all objectively. I put my opinions to the side and my biases. And I was like, this is this is odd, you know? So I started looking into it. Once the shutdowns, everything locked down, I mean, we really had no excuse not to start researching, right? We had nothing to do. So I buried my head. I had a few friends that I respected ask me, well, why do you feel that way? Why are you so angry about this person or this situation? And I honestly didn't have an answer. I was just parroting some crap that I heard off the television or whatever, right? And so I put my head down and I started researching. Well, living in LA, um, the things that I found were not really accepted by my peers, obviously.
To say the least.
Yes. And so I left. I went to visit my father in Georgia. I drove across the country and I had every intention on coming back, but I started putting out what I was finding on Instagram. And when I tell you they turned on me so fast, so hard, it was just like the rug had been pulled out underneath me. So I never went back to LA. And from then on out, I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to say what I need to say. Like, I have to follow my heart and my truth. And if that means it's a solo journey, so be it. And so I'm on my third Instagram account now.
Yeah.
You know, or I'll go crazy and I'll say, you know what, I'm done with social media, and I'll delete
Right.
it, and then I'll start a new one, and then that one gets shadow banned, and it's just
Right.
So this is my third one, and I have really pulled back from the posting, at least on my main page, because I'm trying to keep it art and not, you know, polarize myself too much in the world.
Sure.
But it was pretty crazy in the beginning. I have two other accounts which I don't really use anymore, and I put them on private because it's a lot. So, but now I just don't. I don't care, and honestly, I haven't had too much pushback. All those people that left my life, they're gone. Like, whatever, it's fine. I've moved on. Life is great. I've been successful in what I'm doing, and people now, after the pandemic and everything's over, people are kind of like, oh wow, maybe she's not so crazy after all. So it's like some of the people have come back, some of them are still gone. And, you know, it's been fine. It hasn't really affected me. I'm lucky I don't have a 9 to 5 job where I have to, you know, silence myself. I don't have to put pronouns in my signature on my email and all this garbage, you know. So I've really been lucky. So I have compassion for the people that can't really speak up, because I know not everybody has the opportunity to do so. So that's kind of where I'm at with that, but I don't hold back at all. And as of now, it's getting even crazier. I'm just putting a YouTube channel out, and I feel like we should speak out while we still can, you know, because it's just so bad, the censorship right now. So I might as well enjoy the free speech while I can.
Nice.
Yeah.
So over and over, I've heard that same similar experience where people are talking about, like for me, it was the 2016 election.
See, I was a total brain dead then. I had no clue and no clue.
Right. I voted, and I voted for Bernie, and then I voted for Hillary begrudgingly in 2016. And then an ex at the time called me the night Trump won, and I didn't vote for the motherfucker. I didn't like the motherfucker, blah, 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 but I didn't really think too much about it. I mean, I really believe, like I've said this before, but like in your 20s and 30s, 20s up until I was 30 at the time, there's this idea, you know, let's trust, you know, kids to not only know their own, you know, what gender means, or that they're a different gender and lob off my, you know, fucking tits, but also, speaking from experience, like you're being honest about, like, oh, you know, I was a brain dead, blah, blah, blah. In my 20s, I just wanted to get laid and hold down a job. I had no idea about life. I was just figuring out. I didn't know who the fuck I was. I was putting out music. I was putting out whatever I was doing, but I didn't know. Right. I knew I've always been kind of a rebellious person, but at the same time, I had no idea what was going on. And the night Trump won, my ex calls me and she's like, you know, we're all going to die. And she's crying and blah, blah, blah. And I understood that feeling, but I was also thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, I don't think we're all going to, like, I didn't vote for the guy, but we're not all, fucking. So in trying to comfort her, and then in furthering, maybe about 2 months later, 2.5, 3 months later, everybody online, maybe 6, everybody online was like, Miley Yiannopoulos is the devil, blah, 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 Hitler, da, 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 da. And I'm just like, let me just check out one video of this motherfucker. And similar to you, once you do your own research, it's donezo.
It's
It's
so true.
donezo. And I
Yeah.
do not, by the way, mean research on QAnon.Trump / Pizzagate. I'm saying once you even just look at the video, say as an example, Trump said both sides are very nice. Look at the video. What did he say? He said that I'm not even going to go into it. You need to watch it. Once you do that, once you do your own footwork, it's a muscle.
Yep.
And you're just like, wow, hang on. I wonder what else I'm being told I'm being lied to about. Fell down the rabbit hole for literally just dunked my head in everything Jordan Peterson, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro at the time. These are all people who have they're kind of like gateway drugs. They're like Nirvana for me. I'm like, always help.
True.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the beginning. I've gotten way past you, but thank you for what you did. No offense to Jordan Peter. I still sometimes rock with a few things he said, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, take it all with a grain of salt. You can
right.
things from all these people.
Right. And plus Ben Shapiro, as I always say, Conservatism is the only show you can talk about Trump and eating ass in the same episode. Ben Shapiro is never going to talk about, well, you gotta go in a ring first. I wonder if the circumcision. Okay. Anyway, so this is what happened for me. I fell down the rabbit hole for like 3 days, and then came up the other side, just going like, "Holy shit!" It was refreshing, And it took me probably another year or so to start the idea of starting the show, but I've amassed essentially similar to what you're doing. Like I've amassed a small fan base, mostly because I'm shadow banned to death, and censored and had posts removed, whatever. But the people who follow me are knowing what they're getting. But I have also recently, and I'm going to put out a little poll. I never do this because I'm a fucking, I'm a rebellious musician. I'm not going to ask what my fans want. Take it or leave it, bitch. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm collaborating with new musicians in Austin. I'm ramping up my musical output. I'm thinking, okay, do new fans need a slower introduction to my brand? Right.
Yeah.
And it's a hard question to ask myself. And I've been playing with the idea for a couple of days, and I'll see, I might not, I might put it up. I might take it down. Who knows? But just maybe like just an Instagram page with just my music. I mean, my music is pretty, I have songs about, prostitutes. I have songs about, shitty rappers. I've got songs about, all kinds of touchy subjects. But I'm like, maybe they need a slower introduction. So anyway, I don't know why I went off.
Well, that's like hip hop today anyway, right? The more degenerate stuff that you talk about, the better. So I think it's I think it's perfectly accepted in today's culture.
Right.
Fit right in. I'd say you'd fit right in. I don't see the problem.
I already do. I'm so likable.
Yeah.
And humble as fuck too. I'm so fucking humble. But okay, so what happened for you when what was the first time you did any art?
I've been doing art off and on for forever, but I never really took it serious until about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And I dove in, and now I'm obsessed with it, and I'm getting great feedback. I've sold a bunch of my art, it's great to be able to do creative stuff and make money off of it, right? It's like everyone's dream. So, and I just got picked up by a gallery here in South Florida, Mac Fine Art, which is great. And she knows I'm a handful, but but artists used to be a handful, right?
Didn't we though?
Like, didn't we used to be rebellious and like fight the system? Like when did this stop? So
I blame Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, right. What a bunch of sellouts.
They were sold at Walmart, Target. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know what happened with that, but maybe
now they're all a bunch of like government do-gooders. It's so weird.
Yeah, government do-gooders. And not just that, but manufactured government do-gooders. You know what I mean? I remember years ago someone saying like, yeah, but Taylor Swift writes her own songs. Literally one quick Google search disproves that. She's on Wikipedia. When you look at any one of her songs, she's one of the writers. Sure. But
Right.
there's also a team of like 3 to 7 metrosexuals in Los Angeles. Let's be
Right.
fucking real. You're
Right.
from LA, you understand. Metrosexuals who write for all of these people. It's a team of probably tops 15, and maybe one new one joins every 6 months, a year, whatever, and they try them out, blah blah blah, and then they move on to someone else. But it's the same people who are writing, it's the same people who are managing, it's the same
Yeah.
people who are whatever. This is not art. This is not art. That one I always go to, Lizzo. Lizzo's is such a what's that one song, Truth Hurts, the one that really hit. She's like, oh, she's such a feminist icon. Look at the writers of that song. There's 4 dudes who wrote that song. Okay, 4 men.
Yeah.
Wait, no, I'm sorry. 3 men and her and 1 girl. Anyway, a shit ton of dudes wrote that.
And to
fucking
think
song,
these
so
people
let's
have
be
any
real.
creative control over anything is just a joke. I worked in the music industry in LA. I was the assistant to Guy Oseary, who manages Madonna and U2. So I was in the thick of it, but it was just not my scene.
Right. Now, at
They
best,
act
in your
like they're saving
experiences,
lives and stuff. Like it's like they're like doing surgery and it's just not that serious. And I wasn't that passionate about it, So,
are you
but so
saying that
many people,
the artists do that, or the people around them, or both?
everybody around them. I mean, it was the most stressful environment I've ever been around. So much pressure. Um, I don't know. It just wasn't for me. So anyway,
Okay. There's
nothing
more
to
to
really
it.
elaborate on there.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're gonna fucking name names up in this bitch.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was when you first? So you're doing art on and off. You also became a model. When was the first time you became a model?
I was 14,
Okay.
14
What was
years
that
old.
experience like?
I'm from rural Georgia, so I was from a little small town, but I signed with Ford Models in New York when I was 14, which was great. And I was in a bunch of like teen magazines, 17, teen. But and I lived in Georgia, so I was 14. I wasn't going to move to New York, and plus I was too fat. So yeah, and at 14, you're like, it's not really your priority to like, oh, I'm going to lose weight. Like I really didn't care enough to do that. So I stopped modeling, and then I lived my life, and then I moved to Miami when I was about 20, and I met a girl who was a plus size model. And she said you could do plus size modeling, which basically means you can model without having to be a stick. And so I went and saw an agent in Miami, and they signed me, and I started working as just a straight size model. I mean, that's like a thing now, thank God. And I traveled the world doing that, and I've done it off and on ever since. So like I'd say for the past 18 years I've been modeling. Yeah. But again, it comes and goes. It's not like I'm certainly not a Victoria's Secret model by any means, but
Well, the night is young.
oh,
What when you were 14? Because anytime, especially in the game that we're in, right, in
right.
the Pizzagate motherfuckers who follow me and we go whatever, we're on the lookout. We get a little, it's almost like making a joke 5 years ago about, I grew up Catholic, and so everybody's like, oh, they must have been molested by a priest,
Right. Were
right?
you molested?
So what was so did you ever feel any weirdness when you were 14 in
No,
that game?
well, my memory is really bad. I'm going to go ahead and say that, like my long-term memory. But I will say I had an option between Elite models and Ford. And my mother was like, absolutely not with Elite, because John Casablanca was known to sleep with the models. And, these girls are 14, 15, 16, and some of their parents just let them go off and, be alone. So I personally never really experienced any harm or weirdness. I will say I went to a casting one time in Atlanta, and I was probably 17, and the guy had me doing some really weird poses. Now that I look back on it, it was a casting, like, I need you to do this and this, and I'm pretty sure I was in underwear or something, and looking back now, you're like, wow, that was very inappropriate. But as a kid, you're like, you're just, as a model, you put yourself into a lot of weird situations, but I mean, that's just kind of the industry too, So you look back, you're like, maybe that wasn't appropriate, but I have to say, I got out scot-free. Like I've never had any issues, thank God. But
Right.
and even in working in Hollywood, like as much as people talk about the crazy, stuff that goes on there, I've never personally witnessed it myself.
Okay.
And I was in it pretty deep into it. So
Right.
I've been lucky, I guess. Or maybe it doesn't happen. Who knows, right? I mean, I'm sure it does, but I can't say I've ever witnessed anything. So
Okay.
yeah.
And when it comes to your life, like in situations like that, I always feel like, okay, but people have to have models. There do have to be actors. There do have to be gatekeepers for that, I guess, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, you always hope like maybe there's like a mother hen around who's a
Right.
model, who's just like, hey kid, let me show you the ropes,
Right.
where there does that exist, or is
Mm.
there so much competition, or what do you think that makes
Modeling
that
makes
not
no,
exist?
there's nobody looking after you. Modeling makes you very tough, very fast. You grow up pretty fast. You're alone. You travel to places you've never been to by yourself. Um, and so you become pretty tough, but there's no one looking out for you. You have your agent. My agent was should call you, here's your job, this is your contact, but I can't tell you how many times I've gone to Austria or Mexico City, and you're waiting on a driver to pick you up, and then they take you to the middle of fucking nowhere and to a hotel. I mean, hours out. I mean, I was in Austria, hours away from the airport, and this cab driver drops me off in the middle of nowhere. And I thought I was like in the movie The Hills Have Eyes or
Mhm.
something. Like, this lady walks out pregnant, barefoot, of this hotel, and she's like, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so scary. I mean, you're in situations you never could ever imagine yourself in, but you make it work and you come out on the other side and you're just a tough ass bitch after you do these jobs. I'm telling you, it can be scary, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger,
Right, unless
fearless,
it kills you.
just
Right.
fearless.
In those situations, I've also seen a little bit at many, and maybe this is just this certain venue. They will sometimes have security, though. Yeah.
Not Nothing that I've ever done, no.
Okay.
But I'm not like a huge model, so no,
Right. Right. Right.
no. I've never
Oh, you.
had security.
Oh, you're not. Get off of
No,
the
I'm
show.
not.
Um. Okay. So you've never been in that position. Yeah. I always feel like, okay, you learn what you learn. Experience is the ultimate teacher,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Adversity is the ultimate teacher.
It is.
This is why I love Andrew Tate, because I come from very humble beginnings,
Right.
and I have had not an easy life. Thank God I'm cute. That definitely helps. Obviously, I'm very
Yeah.
aware of that. But without adversity, how are you going to become like anybody or build any character or be a strong individual? That's like
And I'll add this, because everybody faces adversity, right?
exactly.
Maybe, and I've seen it. Obviously, there are exceptions to this, but the way you were raised makes that adversity transform one way or another way,
Yeah.
right? And
Okay.
obviously, there's many shades to it, but I kind of
Mhm.
feel like if you had good motherfuckers around you when you're a kid, if you
Yeah.
had good parents, whatever that looks like, you at least understand, oh, adversity is supposed to make you go that direction. Or let me take adjustment of my life. Let me take inventory of what my actions are, of who I appreciate in my life. And now I've learned I don't want to date that type of person anymore. Now right.
Right.
Whereas if there is a lack or poor leadership when you're a kid, right?
Yep.
Uh, someone not to who doesn't treat or teach you good boundaries, things
Mhm.
like that, that could go another direction when that adversity hits.
That's interesting because both of my parents were in law enforcement. My mother was a badass. She was FBI, she was a motorcycle cop. So she definitely instilled those values in me, but she passed away when I was 14.
Mm,
And then I moved in with my father, who was also a cop. And it was a free for all. I was a nightmare. I was getting arrested all the time. I was
mm,
partying. So there were zero boundaries there. But at the same time, I was scared shitless of my father. Like he was scary. So I could get away with certain things, but other things like he would beat my ass,
mm,
like with a belt. I'm from
mm,
the South. Like we got our ass beat
mhm.
often. And I think
Right.
I think that has a bearing on who I am today. I don't know, but I had a lot of self-reflection, and I've especially over the past like 2.5 years, it's just like you look back and you're like, wow, like, I don't know. I just think that you're right. I think the way you were raised is important, but I think if you can turn adversity into like, try not to look at yourself as a victim, but try to turn that into something positive. I think that's just the way to go personally, but.
Right. But unless consequences, boundaries, whatever you want to call it, and it's a lot of different things, unless that's mirrored to you and shown to you, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I don't know. And obviously there's lots of cosmic shit going on, blah, 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 higher power. Who knows? Right.
Yeah.
But, okay. So you had that experience. You left modeling. When you look back, do you feel like you were actually fat or fat by their standards?
Well, I'm like a yo-yo. I've been fat. I mean, I'm 5'9.5", so I carry it well. Okay.
Okay.
But I have been fat. I'm on this.
I've heard that's tall for girls.
Yeah, it's
okay.
tall for girls.
Right.
So I've been on the thicker side, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But I guess I'm on the thinner side now. So I was considered plus size, but I wasn't plus size enough. You know what I mean?
I see. So you were in the purgatory in between.
16. I'm like I was like a 10, 12.
Right. So you're in the between,
right.
Stick and whatever. And now you're saying there's a middle ground now.
Right. Now I'm at a 6'8". But again, that's like even harder to get work because you're like on the verge of being a straight size model. It's a mess.
Okay.
It's a mess.
So you're saying you used to only be able to date black guys.
Unfortunately, my weight didn't go in those areas. Sadly, it wasn't dispersed very well.
Oh shit! I'm always ragging motherfuckers. I always fight with. Who do I always fight with about that shit? Was it Nico? No, I can't remember. I was talking with somebody recently. Anyway, I may be half Puerto Rican, but I'm a dirtbag. I like white girls. I like scrawny fucking. It is
skinny girls. So many guys love skinny ass girls.
I don't know what. No, these days it's very popular. Let's go plus size. Blah blah blah. I don't know. I mean, I've been with lots of different sizes or whatever. But anyway, what I'm saying is my dick is racist. Everybody. So okay. So you had that experience. You went through that. Were you also doing art at the time?
No.
Okay.
No, definitely not.
When you LA, did you start doing art right away, or?
I started doing it when I came to Florida.
Okay.
When I got here. Yeah. So about 2.5 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. What was the drive to make you go to LA?
Well, I started out in Miami when I was 20. I lived here for 5 years. I was modeling, but I was working at a hedge fund. I've done executive assisting my whole life. So I was working at HIG Capital as an executive assistant. And then modeling started picking up. I was traveling a lot. And I couldn't travel if I was working. So I quit my job.
Okay.
Modeling. And then I moved to New York City. And I lived in New York for 3 years. And I worked at Pier 59 Studios for the assistant to Federico Pignatelli, who's the owner of the studio.
Okay.
That's one of the biggest photo houses ever. Like everybody shoots there, every fashion campaign ever. So that was a really fun job. And he let me model too, which was awesome. Okay. So I did that. And then I worked for Mario Sorrenti, who's a fashion photographer. I did post-production for him. So I've dabbled in so many different things while I was modeling. And then one day I walked outside. It's like 4, I'm in Chinatown and it's like dark, snowing. And I lived in Bed-Stuy and I'm like, I am so sick of this shit. I'm leaving. And so I got another job at Beauty in Essex, working as a hostess, saved up money, and I packed my shit and I moved to LA. I'm known to just pick up and go. I've never been like tied down to any place particularly. Right. I think I'm good in Florida for now. It's like the only place to live, really, or Texas.
Yeah. How dare you? Right. I just went to the range yesterday, girl. Okay. They don't.
I saw that. I saw that.
So much fucking fun.
I need to do target practice myself.
I had this experience because I moved to Austin in July and I knew this is the right place for me musically, and it's still musically relevant. New York and LA are not, especially not for somebody who doesn't have the vaccine.
No.
But I've been kind of talking myself into it. right? So it's not that it's bad here, but just kind of like, you practice certain things. Well, I like this is how it contrasts to New York. I like this, I like that, and it's cheaper, right? Elbow,
Mhm.
elbow.
Mhm.
But when I was driving away from the range yesterday, I just felt it wash over me. I was just like,
You
I
loved it.
love this.
Oh,
Ah, fuck New York in the face. I love
seriously.
Texas. Oh,
Oh,
I love Texas. And you were in New York when it was supposed to be New York.
yeah. I would say the good years were like 2007, 8, and 9.
Mhm.
That's when I was going to New York a lot. I was just going back and forth from Miami to New York. Those were the good days, man. But when I
Right.
moved there, it was fine. But I was just there a couple weeks ago, and it's great to go and walk around, and I'm all nostalgic and stuff. But excuse me, um,
Bless you.
but I don't miss it by any means. It's not the same. It's like
Right.
super gentrified. It doesn't have that grit anymore. Now it's just fucking dangerous, you know?
It's dangerous and it's San Francisco,
Yeah.
you know.
Did you
That's the
hear
thing.
about them doing the did you see them in San Francisco? They're gonna have like the
Oh, the robots?
robocops literally. Like
Yeah, I believe it. I wonder how they're gonna I wonder how San Francisco is gonna make sure its robots kill with racial equity. Ever thought about that, liberals? You dumb motherfuckers.
Oh my god. The fourth
Anyway,
industrial revolution is coming.
exactly.
Yep.
And I'll be in Texas, warm and safe with my guns and
Oh,
my
those
and my meat,
mhm.
and music and culture.
And all those
Um,
southern men that ain't putting up with no shit.
None of that goddamn
None
shit.
of that
Oh, so
shit.
much fun.
But you're
But
gonna
by
be
the
in a
way,
safe place. Texas is a safe place.
it is. Yeah. And honestly, if Beto had one, which I knew he wouldn't, but
No.
if he had one, I would have come to Florida. I got a couple of homies out there and a couple of people are moving out there. So I don't know. And plus I have family out there too. So I don't know. We'll think about it.
All right. Well, I'm here.
Plus,
We live here.
all right. Well, plus a lot of New Yorkers have moved there. So if I need the pizza hookup, that's where I
True.
got to go.
True, true, true.
Okay. So you moved from New York to Miami back?
No,
LA,
yeah,
right.
LA. I was in LA. I was married.
Right.
I was living my life, and then all this shit happened, and it's just you feel when you real. I mean, I don't want to talk shit about these people, but it's like
You don't have to name names. It's all
no,
right.
I'm not gonna name names, but it's like you just feel so alienated, and you realize like, oh wait, were we even friends?
Are you talking pre-pandemic or you mean
I'm talking when I left and when my
okay.
political views changed.
Right.
And by no means do I subscribe to either side at this point.
Right.
But it was automatically, well, you're not a Trump supporter, are you? And I'm like, uh, not necessarily, but if I was, is that a problem? It's just so small minded and it was just like gross, And I admit it, I was the same way, but at least I can like put my ego aside and I'm like, well, I had it wrong,
Mm-hmm.
And people that know me should know I'm a good person and know that like I'm not just, like I came to these conclusions by researching these things. You know what it was for me? Mike Cernovich.
Yeah.
So him and Scooter and John DeToit, I can't, sorry, I don't know I can't say his last name. They made this documentary called Hoaxed. Have you seen it?
No.
Hoaxed. So basically what it was, and that changed it for me. That was when it started. I watched it and it was about how the media basically skews the narrative. Like you said, when Trump said Mexicans are racist and they're bad people, he didn't say
Rapists.
rapist.
Right.
Rapists, they send rapists and they're bad people. He didn't say that,
No.
but they took that and they ran it, and now that was the narrative of the day. And when I watched that documentary, I was like, I was so guilty of it. Like I never took the time to actually research if these things were factual or not, And so that was a big deal. You should watch it. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a good documentary. But it definitely opened my eyes to how the media lies. I mean, they're owned by what? Two people. They're spinning a narrative, and they want you to hear what they want you to hear. And so
Right.
once you realize that, you can kind of maneuver through the world a lot easier. So
Right. Including often places that would seemingly contradict each other are
right.
also owned by the same person.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting how
It's
that works.
crazy.
almost like we're being manipulated.
Yeah. Or
Okay, so
pitted
you had
against each other, you know?
right.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience was a similar way, but I think it also aligns to what your experience was, and I'd like to kind of dig into this a little bit. Your experience in LA. See, in my mind, San Francisco, you ever heard of a New York no?
No.
This is how it was before.
Okay.
A New York no is no. An LA no is yeah, bro, we should totally do that.
Oh, yeah.
And a San Francisco no, I added. A San Francisco no is I don't know, and then they don't email you back.
Right.
That's so. I think that part of my experience of feeling that same way, where I had a few people who I had literally not just collaborated with, not just people I knew who I was friends with, who knew I am a good fucking person, right?
Oh.
I also had one where I performed at their wedding.
Wow.
Right. And yet when I had a Proud Boy on my show in 2018, they were like, I can't follow you anymore. Like, you're giving a platform to white supremacy. Now, first things first, just a little cognitive dissonance. I'm a person of color. So, right. And the main guy who was leading the charge against white supremacy is white. And the Proud Boy who came on was Mexican as fuck. So again, it fell in line with it, but I tried to engage. I always say, if you, and this, I'm getting a little too big for this now. I'm not saying I'm famous, but I'm like, I've only got so many fucking hours in a day. I'll engage sometimes, but I would tell people for years, I'll engage with you in my comments if you come in respectfully. If you come in swinging, racism, I'm all right. Well, I'm fucking Puerto Rican, you're white, so I win. I'll match your energy, right?
Right.
But people who I thought would give me the latitude like I give them did not show up that way for me.
Yep.
And what I've been trying to press recently is that those people think they have good intentions, right? I know it's hard to like, especially my motherfuckers who follow me, when I was defending the vaccinated people last week. Why I point that out is because it's important to know our enemy, right? And if I'm expecting that latitude from me, people I know who I know and love, I know people who I know and love who I seriously disagree with. I had a guy call me up 2 days ago, yesterday, and he doesn't follow me on Instagram where I'm wild as fuck, but he follows me on Facebook. He must know maybe that I'm a little something. And yet he just went off on this rant against Trump voters. And I'm just sitting there and you know what I did? I just said, yeah, you know what? You're probably right. Whatever.
You just like let him go.
Let him go. Yeah. Because not only am I not going to change his fucking mind,
no, never.
but also I value his friendship more than I value being right.
Right.
And as long as he understands that whenever he finds out or understands how much of a racist transphobe I am, that he gives me the latitude to understand that I at least think I mean well, then we can meet. And let's not talk about politics. Let's talk about music, sex, spirituality, the good shit. Let's talk about what connects us, what moves us forward. What I find is that a lot of those people are not mature enough to do so.
I agree.
Right.
I think we actually have a lot more in common than we all understand, meaning, let's say, the left and us, right? But I think they're also just getting their information from propaganda and manufactured, like, psyops and things like that aren't based in reality,
Right.
Yes, the world is racist. It's always going to be racist. There's always going to be racist. Okay. But can we just stop with the whole racism thing? Like, they, to me, come off as the most racist people ever, because that's all they talk about. I have so many Black friends. I am surrounded by so many Black friends, so many ethnic friends. I was raised in the inner city schools. I was like one of 5 white people in my whole school. I am not racist, but I'm not going to sit here and buy into this racist crap. Like, I'm so over it. Can we just shut it down, But I do think we have a lot more in common, but these people don't they can't like step out of themselves and like look at things objectively and be like, maybe you've been fed a bunch of like bullshit to like get you all enraged and, you know, cause division. It's like, can we just calm down? You know, can everybody just calm down and have a conversation? But no, they don't want to have it. And when you try to have the conversation with them, they're like, I don't talk about. They're so enraged about a certain topic, but then when you ask them, well, why? Why do you feel this way? They're like, I just don't want to talk about it. So, you know, it's just like, so
Right.
then if you're so enraged and you have such a bold opinion, you should be able to back it up. And I think that's what happened to me when I was like, I didn't have an answer for a question somebody asked me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm never going to let that happen again." That was the most
Right.
embarrassing moment of my life. And so, and I think, but it, like you said, it's like self-awareness, you know, you have to have it. And if you don't, well, like, good luck, you know?
Right. Do you
So,
feel like, do you know Jamie Arrigo?
yes, I do.
Yeah.
I don't know her personally, but I follow her online.
Yeah, she's good peeps.
Yeah,
I've had
she
her
is.
on the show a couple times. And she had a similar experience with LA. Most of the people I've known had a similar experience, LA, New York, San Francisco. Do you feel when you look back at the relationships that that pre-pandemic, pre
Mhm.
your awakening, whatever, that ultimately dissolved, do you feel like you could see some sort of, even if you didn't mean it, even if they didn't mean it, some sort of um, shallowness, some sort of something that LA facilitates, that being in San Francisco, in New York, in these bubbles facilitates some sort of, not that there wasn't any depth or love there, but in some of those relationships where it's just like, like as an example, when it comes to LA, I feel like the competition that everybody moves there. I'm going to be a model. I'm going to be an actress. I'm going to be blah, 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 blah. Even the stand-ups, they're literally just waiting until they get their sitcom, waiting until they get their movie, waiting until they whatever.
Right.
That facilitates oh, get it off of me, put it on someone else. Oh, I don't want to be in trouble. I can't, I need to other people. Right.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's any merit to that maybe the culture, the artistic culture of LA facilitated that?
Well, I have to be honest, I wasn't really in that. I was very much removed from that whole world. You know, me and my
Okay.
ex-husband owned a bar. I I never bought into that. Like I did my job. I worked in Hollywood and I came home. Like I removed myself
Okay.
from that. So I wasn't clout chasing in LA. I just moved to LA for the weather, to be quite honest. I really did. But I do feel like my relationships were genuine, the people that were in my life. But I do think in LA, it's very much a herd mentality. Like there's no like thinking outside of the box, and that's really all I can say about it is like everyone thinks the same, even though yet they're so interesting and progressive and cultural and artistic, but yet they're the most simple, basic minded people I've ever been around. You know, it's so embarrassing. Like it's so cringe. LA and New York is so cringe. I
They
can't.
really are.
Oh my
Yeah, they
God.
really are.
I can't.
And it's hard because those places, I mean, it's so disappointing. Like recently I found out Trent Reznor left Twitter because Elon Musk took over, right?
Oh
And
my God.
I'm just thinking to myself, listen, people can change, right? And I don't need my artists, my heroes, to agree with me 100%, right?
Right.
But on some shit, come on,
Right.
bro.
Like
Free speech, bro.
where's the rebel in you, man? Like, God damn. It's crazy.
Right. The people I knew who I've Frank Zappa, George Carlin, people who stayed rebellious. I'm not saying that they didn't poke sides at, you know, whatever, or say things that I disagree with,
Right.
but at least they understood the fuck you. At least they understood the freedom. At least they understood that there's a fucking cabal. There always
Yeah.
has been, wanting us to do certain things, wanting to pit us against each other, wanting, right?
Yep.
Where I feel like Trent is like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? But I've had to kind of get rid of a bunch of heroes the last couple of years.
Oh my God. You and me both. Like there are none. All my heroes are canceled, to be quite
Right.
honest with you. Like all the
Right.
people that I respect are no longer have a voice. Well, they do on different platforms, but those are the ones, in my opinion, speaking truth because they're speaking against the narrative. Um and so yeah, I used to love Hollywood and I was obsessed with that stuff, but now I think it's absolutely vapid and repulsive. and it's completely controlled.
Right.
The Balenciaga thing, that was it for me. I'm like, okay, we're completely done here. Whoever didn't speak up against that, like, pathetic. And I really don't. I mean, it's when it's involving kids and you can't say anything because you don't want to lose your cool, like, elitist, like, fashion world points. It's like, fuck you, dude. You are pathetic.
Right.
And that's that.
Now, you've been in that world. There was a
I
few
always,
people who did.
I never vibed with it ever, and I was never really accepted in it either. To be honest, I wasn't cool enough. There's like a cool
Right.
air you have to have about you, and I'm from the South. I'm just a nice, normal person, and so
Right.
they never really accepted me, and I never
They
really.
Right. They could smell that you had a father.
Yeah, it was weird. I never felt comfortable in that world. I never was accepted in the world, and so I've never been happier since I removed myself from a world that I was trying to push, because I thought that was like LA, New York, like this. But I've never been happier since I've removed myself from that and stopped trying to force something that just wasn't for me.
Right.
You know?
But what I mean is, like, in the world of what a photo shoot takes, what a design you talked about, you did post production, you said?
Yeah, I for a retouch, I did retouching for like Rihanna's photos, which was cool. I loved it, but sitting in a dark room all day with a bunch of dudes, like, that wasn't more of a social girl. So
Right.
it was great. I learned a lot, and it was fun. And Mario's crew is amazing. Like, Mario Sorrenti is an amazing photographer, and the crew, he kept a very tight knit circle, and they accepted me with open arms, and they were lovely. So I will say that.
Right.
Like I said, I've been lucky. I've had really great experiences
Right.
with all my jobs and experiences.
Right. And the reason why I'd like just to illuminate, as somebody who's never been, I've had a couple photo shoots and this and that, but as far as how, like you just talked about, there's a team around these people.
Yeah.
Right. There's a team of designers. There's a team of post-production, of pre-production, of planning, of carefully putting the pillow over here and then doing the thing and then But the first thing that Balenciaga, as an example, reached for was, it was the production company. It was the whatever. But exactly. So please illuminate how many people would need to see those photos before they come out.
Right. It goes through so many things. To sit there and act like it was a mistake is such bullshit. I mean, especially the paperwork with the court case. Like, these things are strategic. Everything is fine-tooth combed over and over and over and over. You just don't willy-nilly throw things in there like that. And it has to be approved by multiple people. And so for them, did you see they dropped the lawsuit because it's like, it's just not gonna happen. I mean, I think they knew that people weren't buying it. But yeah, it goes through multiple people and multiple signatures. And so yeah, to pretend that it was a mistake was ridiculous.
Or even that they were trying to be edgy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of, that's where I mean, there's a lot of things I split. There's a lot of things I split with on, my followers. Like, I always say, like, if I see I have a new follower and their avatar is like a American flag with an eagle, I'm like, I'm about to say some shit you're gonna disagree with, bro. Like, relax. Because I'm filthy and I talk about all kinds of things, and also being an artist, I've I mean, the picture I took, shout out to Ardent Imagery, the picture I took for my album, the photo shoot, was me with like fake blood coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And me biting my tongue, right? So like, I'm thinking, like, I like being edgy. I like being weird. I don't think
I get it.
provocative.
Yeah,
I don't think anything with a picture of even a fucking pentagram is necessarily denotes Satanism. Right. But at a certain point, when there's a pattern and this person posts all kinds of, there's one fucking designer I saw was posting pictures of like a kid tied up and like this.
Yeah.
Dude.
She was a creative director for Balenciaga. And to do it now with Pizzagate, and what everybody's kind of like, are these conspiracy theorists actually, like, it's, to do it now to me was just like crazy. It's almost like they did it on purpose. Like, why would you even push that knowing that everyone's talking about pedophilia, everyone's talking about the Epstein thing, Weinstein, like, and you're going to do that? Like, very bad timing, you know? It just is really bizarre to me.
Right. Would you even say, I'm not 100% on it, but would you even say that the double A on that yellow caution tape was I mean, obviously they would check that too, right?
Yeah. I mean, who knows?
Right.
But it's to me, it's almost like they're like trying to expose themselves, or somebody was in the team, maybe. I don't know. I mean, we could do like go round and round and say our theories, but
It's fun.
It was really it's so fun. I mean, and
as
then,
long as we don't take it too seriously, I think.
yeah,
Anyway,
and that's the thing. Don't get crazy, you know. I mean, that's the thing. Both sides go a little too far sometimes. But right now, I've gone real deep, but now I'm just kind of like, I care, but I don't care, and then I care, and then I don't care. I'm like, I have to live my life as we all do. And so I think if you're aware, just be aware and try to enjoy life while you can, you know, because who knows? I feel like this 2030 agenda, and they say, I mean, I think it's going to get crazy before it gets better. And hopefully enough people come to their senses and we can try to stop what's on the horizon, but who knows?
Right. I mean, I'll just say this as a helpful little cultural hint. I've been talking about it. I think we've already won the culture war. No one is turning woke now.
Yeah,
that's
no.
not happening.
No,
right?
People are annoyed.
Right. People are annoyed, and even people who are, I mean, most of the Biden voters I know were like, "Yeah, Biden sucks." Da 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 da. As Patrice O'Neill once said, it's like there's enough black quarterbacks now that you can criticize a black quarterback without it being racist.
Right.
It's the same type of thing. It's like, okay, well, we gave Biden a fair shot. Okay, it's okay to criticize him now without going, "You're gonna give Trump more votes." People are sick of the bullshit.
So sick of it.
Right. So
they just pushed it too hard. They've gone too hard, and people are like, okay, this is getting weird.
Right.
And I also think when you try to stifle debate and you keep pushing the censorship, only thing it does is create more volatile situations. Like, I know it's created a monster out of me the past 2 years. All this, like all these rules, all the censorship, like I'm more flagrant than I've ever been now, because it's like you're suppressing me. And so therefore I'm going to act even more crazy. But it's like when my dad, I was in 10th grade and I was like, I think I'm going to drop out of high school. He was like, okay, go right ahead. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like, that wasn't the answer I was looking for, right? It's like reverse psychology. If you let people just be, if you let them have open conversations, we're all adults. We can discern what's right, what's wrong. We don't need somebody telling us how to act or what to listen to or whatever. Right. And if you can just let people be, let conversations open, I think everything will be just fine. You know, I think people will monitor themselves and be respectful. But the more you censor and the more you silence people, the worse off we're going to be, in my opinion. I think it's going to make people more angry, more volatile, suppressed, and not good. That's my opinion. It's like you have a kid, you tell them not to do drugs, they're probably going to go do drugs, you know?
Right.
You're like, you know, whatever. And they're probably like, oh, never mind. I'm not going to do drugs. My mom said it was fine, you know? So that kind of thing. It's like that reverse psychology.
Right. So speaking of, you cool to go a few more minutes?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And thank you again for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having me. My first podcast.
I know.
Fun. I like it.
I'm so fucking fantastic. But speaking of incendiariness and going out there, let's have a fun little what Bill Hicks used to say. It's like, don't worry, I'll get to the dick jokes in a second. So let's not end this, but let's transition to the last part. So you found out about Andrew Tate how long ago?
It was about 3 months ago.
Okay. When he got kicked off, essentially.
No, and the only reason I have a timeline is because that's when I made my first YouTube video, and it was on him, and that was 3 months ago. Okay. I think he's been probably off about a month or maybe a month and a half. I don't think he's been kicked off that long. But first of all, I I understand the nuance of what he was doing and the entertainment. He was obnoxious, and I found it to be hilarious. I thought it was funny. I knew he wasn't serious, with the women's stuff, like, "Come here, bitch, like, fix me a steaky, bitch." Like, that was, to me, I find that to be hilarious. But more importantly, what he was saying, which I resonated with, was to have personal responsibility.
Hmm.
Don't be a victim. Be strong, think for yourself, don't have a slave mind, and get out of the matrix, and that is like everything I'm about. So I was like, wow, who is this guy? Now I'm like obsessed with him. I think
Right.
he's great. I think he's great. And he comes from nothing too. So that's an inspiration to me. So yeah, that's my Andrew Tate.
Okay. What's the reaction been?
Amazing. First of all, it's all men. All male audience, which I'm fine with.
Right.
But it has been overwhelmingly supportive. I mean, I'm getting messages on my Instagram. I never knew my Instagram would be so busy. Like, thank you so much for speaking up. Like, we need more women speaking up for men. Thank you. Like, all this. Thanks for having the courage to say something. Keep it up. So much support. So many people offering to help me edit my videos. I mean, just it's overwhelmingly positive, which I can't believe it.
Right.
It's
So
crazy.
no unsolicited dick pics.
No, zero.
Good, boys. Don't. All right.
No, that's not.
Wait until they ask. But okay, so there's a couple of reasons why. Obviously, yeah, okay, you're getting this positive reaction because you're a pretty girl.
Right.
But also it's because we're kind of starved for that. Dudes,
Right.
we're kind of starved for someone listening to us.
Right.
I know some people are going to go, but you didn't listen to us. Okay. So that means, I guess, just never listen to us for the rest of our lives, no matter how many of us are fucking killing ourselves and dying at work. And,
Yeah.
And also getting, by the way, I don't know why I'm talking or bringing this up, but I'll go ahead and goddamn say it. And in spite of all of the times our genitals are being mutilated before we have the chance to decide what we want our genitals to do.
It's crazy.
Oops.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
You fucking assholes. If it gets to a woman, it's like, huh. If it gets to a guy, it's like, well, it's because. But what about the hygiene? Just teach your kid to wash his dick. It's fine. You don't have to fucking mutilate the motherfucker. Anyway.
It's barbaric if you think about it. It really is crazy. It really is. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe we do that.
Right. So anyway, but it's refreshing for a myriad of reasons, and also it's refreshing because I mean, like we were talking about at the jump of this podcast, a lot of people don't have the voice or can't afford to have the voice to say these things.
Right.
And also, I'm sorry, but I mean, it's similar to why I always rag on white liberals. I'm trying to use identity politics to kill identity politics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not a white liberal, I can use their white guilt and say, fucking screw, open up your fucking mind, you douchebag. So hearing a woman talk about it is like, okay, all right. Yeah. So it's because when dudes do, it's like, they shut it out as misogyny, whatever.
Exactly. Misogynist, always.
Right. Has there been any negative reactions from women?
No, zero. But I don't think one single woman's watched it. Most women hate Andrew Tate because they don't take the time to really listen to what he's saying. I mean, again, it's like he's a misogynist. And my friend the other day was like, I was telling her, I was like, oh my God, Andrew Tate, like, I got these views on this video. This is so crazy. Right. She's like, isn't he like a misogynist? And I'm like, no, he's not. I mean, it's like, I didn't want to get into it, not that she was interested anyway, but he has so much more to say than that. And that's the reason they shut him up, because he is sending a message of, for men to be men, and they don't want men, obviously, in society, because without men, we're easily controlled. And so he's a danger to the establishment, in my opinion.
Right. And I also, and I talked about it a few months ago, but I have officially resigned as the white liberal girl whisperer. I'm no more white liberal girls. I mean, one might sneak in here and there or whatever, but no more relationships from white.
I don't know how you're even around them. They're like dreadful to be around.
Because I was in San Francisco. I was in San Francisco and New York. That was my dating pool.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
and I can handle that, because the thing is and it illuminates kind of what I was talking about. Most of the white liberal girls I've been in relationships with, even to this day, they'll still send me a message every once in a while, like, or we'll have a phone call about, like, even though I know they voted for Biden and I know they're very progressive, blah, 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 they're still also frustrated with the shit, and they
Oh,
know I am a life raft. They know I'm an intellectual safe place that they can
right.
complain about their side.
Yep. Yep.
And it's going to get a little misogynistic, so everybody cover your fucking ears. But girls like men. So, so when it comes down to why I've been able to date white liberal women, it's because I'm refreshing, and they are not used to that. Right?
Right.
There's something different about, they understand, they can kind of sense that I'm not a piece of shit. They can kind of sense that, okay, and they see that in my actions, and that I'm sweet and whatever, but I'm also not nice. And the
Right.
thing is, let's differentiate this as men between sweet and nice. Nice
Right.
is milk toast. Nice is boring. Nice is dry pussy. Sweet and a little bit of a jerk. Just a little. When girls are like, "You're kind of an asshole," like, I'm like, I know. Do you want some water? What do you want me to pay for your dinner, bitch? Like, what do you need? Because it's still like there's something weird there, and we don't need to necessarily go too deep into it. But I'll just say, similar to the thing about what we were talking earlier. But like, there's something about nature you can't really intellectualize away.
Yep.
There's something about what.
Yeah, it's very basic in us.
Right.
I think. Yeah, I can't. You can sit here and try to social engineer us all day long, but our human biology craves men. I know I do. I mean, especially now, they're like far and few between.
Right.
I spent some time in Roatan. I'll tell you a quick story.
In where?
Roatan, Honduras. I spent a lot of time there, almost a year, back in 2017.
Wow.
And let me tell you something. Those men over there, all they do is fuck. And because they live on an island. I've never been happier than I was when I was in Roatan. They live on an island. They have no money. They live in a little house with their families, and they're the happiest they've ever been. And it's primal. Mm-hmm. It's like a primal thing. And I just loved it so much. And I loved being around the guys because they could do stuff. They would fish, they would boat, they'd come home. You have sex, like very basic primal stuff, but it was so hot and it was so simple. And I was the happiest I've ever been when I was in Roatan. And I think that goes to what you're saying. Like, you can take, all this consumerism in the United States and the West. It's just like everybody's so depressed because they're being taken of like our primal instincts, which is very basic needs, very basic. Give me some food, let's fuck, and we're good,
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, and that's just my experience. And I really realized that when I went away, I was gone for about a month, and I came back to LA, and I was like, I want to die. This is not the life I want. I could move to an island tomorrow if I could, but maybe in the future.
Right.
But yeah.
And it's only getting worse in what the pandemic did. It's only getting worse in that I literally have had multiple women tell me, why aren't guys like hitting on us? Like, why aren't guys like girls like acting?
Well, also because they're probably afraid to, because it's like, me too this, me too that. It's like you're like a feminist nightmare to be around.
Part of it is that. Part of it is that. I think it's a multi-pronged disease. But I think the other part of it is, what was the psyop? Right? Get everybody alone.
Yeah.
Get everybody alone. Look at TV. Have you ever noticed, by the way, what's everybody's favorite fucking show? Apparently, is The Office. No, that too. Yeah, no, that's another thing. But also The Office, right?
Right.
There's not one fucking dude on that whole show except for the guy that Pam got rid of, because he was caricatured as just a mean guy. He's just a fathead who doesn't care about women, blah, blah, blah. So the only options you're given if you're going to get the girl, right, if we want to talk high level psyop, is to be a wimpy little shit.
Yeah. That's
right.
It's awful.
Yeah. My fight is for fulfillment. My
Yeah.
fight is for truth. My fight is
Yep.
for fulfillment, and not just mine, but also women's and dudes. And I
Yeah.
think we got to pay attention to what our guts say. As you know, as Patrice used to say, we got to be prepared to take the L.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'd rather sit with my self-respect, my identity, who I am. Oh, someone doesn't like me. Get the fuck over it,
Yeah. Who
ladies and
cares?
gentlemen.
You know how many people hate me now? You think I care? I've never been happier. I'm like, I dropped the dead weight, and because I'm living my truth. And I
Right.
swear to God, when you live your truth, the universe will reciprocate and give you everything you need. I swear. I know that I am on the right side of history because I never wanted anybody to mandate anything. I never told anybody how to live their life. I never yelled at anybody. I never was authoritarian and telling people to put a mask on, get a vaccine, or you can't come in here, you can't. I never did that. I was never that person. I just want to be left the fuck alone. And I want you to live your life however you so choose to do. I really don't give a shit. Just leave me alone, And I think, and I just want truth. I just want truth, and I want my freedom. And that's basically what I stand for. So.
Right. And Honduras.
And Honduras.
Dude, no, I'm around here at these Austin girls. I'm like, oh, they probably don't mind that I shoot guns. Oh shit.
Yeah, we probably
Oh
love
my
it.
God. I actually had an ex when I told her, she's a liberal girl. She's a liberal white girl in San Francisco. But she was like, when I told her I was moving to Austin, she was like, oh, they're going to love you. They're going to love, like, what's that chivalry and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I know, I'm going to fucking clean up. Anyway.
Oh my God. Texas is great.
Yeah, it really is. So please talk about your art, where people can find you, where people can support you.
So again, my Instagram is Kelly Johnson Art. Same as my YouTube channel. And then my website is kellyjohnsonart.com.
And it's spelled wrong, everybody. It's KELLIE JOHNSEN.
Yes, correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Wherever you're listening, everybody, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, rate, review, leave a comment downstairs. And find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano or on Twitter at Rule62Peter. I love you all very much. See you later. Bye.
Bye.